What's up, everybody? Welcome to Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. I'm Jonathan Beardsley.
And I am Brandon May.
Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to the show. We had to take last week off a little bit abruptly, but we are back this week with an even bigger show than usual to make up for it. We don't have any music news for the top of the show, so we're just going to dive right in this week, starting with a new one from NSYNC called Better Place. It's part of the new Trolls soundtrack, but I think it's safe to say it's just a return song for NSYNC. I think it's probably a one-off as well, but context aside, what did you think of the track?
Honestly, man, I thought it was a little bit generic. I didn't feel any of that NSYNC magic that they used to have. Did you like it? Am I wrong?
No, I didn't feel any of the NSYNC magic. I didn't think it was a bad song, though. I did miss hearing JC's vocals, though. I thought that they were very good. He still sounds excellent, in my opinion.
I think they all sound pretty good.
But yeah, production-wise, much different than I was expecting.
Right.
Moving on, we got a new one from Jungkook of BTS. This one featuring Jack Harlow. It's called 3D. I was not thrilled when I saw Jack Harlow would be the feature on his next single, but man, it's a fucking jam. It sounds like Baby When the Lights Go Out by Five for all my like 90s boy band heads out there, but man, I am fucking loving this shit, man. What did you think of this one?
John, this is fucking great. Even Harlow's
So
feature
good.
is good. This is a certified bop.
Yeah, Jungkook's album Golden comes out November 3rd. Should be
Nice.
a good one. All right, we've arrived at my song of the week. It's a new one from Empress of and Rina Sawayama called Kiss Me. This one blew me away, continues to do so. I love that mid-2000s pop sound. It's coming back a little bit, I think. Not all of it's going to be good, but this is excellent, man. Very reminiscent of early Rihanna. The keys and the instrumental are perfect, and little details like that delay in the back of the second hook are a really nice touch. What did you think of this one?
This is a great song, man. Have we've covered Empress of before?
No, I think her last album came out before we were doing this podcast.
Got it. Yeah, because I didn't recognize the name, but I mean, it's a great track, bro. I'm not surprised it's your song of the week.
Really, really good shit.
Yep.
Moving on, we got a new one from Bad Bunny. It's called Un Preview. In terms of the way it sounds, there's not much that separates it from a lot of his other hits. We didn't know it at the time it dropped, but I think just yesterday or the day before it was announced that this is kind of a promotional single for his new album that will be dropping this week. Did this get you any more excited for it, or are you just like, this is more Bad Bunny? Let's just bring it on.
It's more Bad Bunny. You can't turn and not hear this guy.
Yep.
I thought he was taking a break. Maybe I misheard that somewhere, but good for him, man. I'm glad we got an album coming, and I'm sure everybody in the world will hear it.
He brought back the custom off-road rolls for the music video for this one too, so
Sweet.
good shit. Got a couple new tracks from Black. I think these are just kind of some pre-tour singles that he dropped. The first one, Homicide, featuring Jesse Reyes, and the second one, Mean It. I didn't have a lot of expectations for these, but man, kind of killed it on him, man. He still sounds great. That low end on Homicide is really good stuff, and I think him and Jesse trade off well. They've done a few songs together at this point. Mean It didn't really stick with me quite as much, but it's a good song. What'd you think of these?
Yeah, man, both of these tracks are good. Mean It is a little slow for my taste, but it's still good.
Sure.
I ran Homicide back a few times, though, for sure.
Yeah. He played in LA last night, and he brought out Jesse Reyes as well as Snow Allegra, Khalid, J. Cole, Mariba. He brought out a ton of fucking people. So if Black is coming to a town near you, definitely get some tickets.
That's a stacked lineup, man.
Yeah, they were all just unannounced guests during his set. He played Portland. Portland was actually the first date of his tour, and this was his first tour in, I think, 4 years. But he didn't have any special guests at that one. I think it being the first show back, he just wanted it to be a little more intimate. Or maybe nobody wants to come to Portland. I have no idea.
One of those two.
Hey, Steve-O comes here and does stand-up comedy once in a while, so we got that going for us.
I'm sure that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, probably is. All All right, we got a new one from Samaria called Wish You Hell. There's some aspects of the vocals on this one I liked, but outside of that, this one just was not for me, which is rare for me to say about her music, as I've loved pretty much all of it so far. What did you think of this one?
I don't really think I like this high pitched vocal thing that she does.
She doesn't need it. That's what's
Right,
annoying about it. She
right.
absolutely does not need it. Moving on, we got a new one from Black Pumas, another one off their upcoming album. This is Mrs. Postman. What did you think of it?
Another banger from Black Pumas, man. This band is a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, it's a jam, man. It's giving me a lot of those like Anderson Paak, John Legend, a little bit of Raphael Sadiq vibes. I'm really digging it. The album should be interesting.
Yeah, I think so too.
Taking a hard pivot from R&B jazz into Maxo Cream's new song, Whatchamacallit, featuring Lil Tyler, man. I love Maxo, but Lil Tyler is just not for me. Were you able to enjoy it?
Oh man, Maxwell's fucking great. Lil
Yeah,
Tyler
as
is
always.
not my thing. Their voice is
Okay.
super grating, but Maxwell kills every part of this track that he's on. So
Yes, yes, he does. Got a new one from Flayana Boss called Bitch I'm a Star. I didn't think we'd be hearing more new music from them so soon after that EP just
I
dropped, but
know.
I'm glad they put this track out. It goes pretty fucking hard. Would you agree?
Most definitely, I would agree. This is a fucking banger. There are some questionable lyrics on this one. How does one smoke a GPT? I'm asking for a friend.
Oh man, I feel like of all the people in my contacts, you would be the one I would ask that. So the fact that you don't know means we're all fucked, Brandon. All right, moving on. We got three new tracks from King Gizzard, Thea, the Silver Chord, and Set. What did you think of these?
All right, so this is still very much Giz. A lot of electronics, obviously. I am very excited for this album. If history tells us anything, these songs are most definitely an indication of what we'll get from the Lizard Wizard boys. The synth layers, the energy of that track set. I'm pretty hyped, bro. Pretty hyped. What did you think?
I think the extended mixes version clocks in at over 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken, from what's been revealed.
Say
Uh,
less.
I might be in the minority here, but I'm having a hard time getting into these three tracks. Don't kill me,
Interesting.
Brandon. I'm
I'm
sorry,
not gonna
man.
kill you.
Maybe it'll click when I hear the album in full or the extended mixes, but these three just didn't really grab me. I don't know. Do you think that I don't know. I feel like Butterfly 3000 is a good example of an album of theirs I like but don't love, and we might be headed in that direction. But the overall concept and equipment used to create this project has me very, very curious still. So I'm going in with an open mind. But yeah, I didn't love this as much as loved anything off Petro Dragonic, I will say.
Well, I think that set of these three, set was my favorite one. But
Interesting. Okay.
it's I totally understand what you're saying. And King Gizzard cannot be for everybody all the time. I think they're actively trying to not be for everybody all the time.
Sure.
My wife says that their releases and the band themselves are just fucking exhausting, and I totally agree. It's exhausting to keep up with someone as prolific as this band is. And there's a number of albums of theirs that I'm not a big fan of. So I'm stoked to hear it, and we'll see what happens.
Same.
I'm pretty hyped. I know I sent you the on
The vinyl.
Bandcamp on Bandcamp they posted the like all the equipment like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And they're using like real equipment, which is pretty cool, because they're not just using a DAW, and they're really going for it. I mean, all of the equipment in that photograph for their album cover, viewers
Was
on
used.
YouTube are going to see it. They're gonna use all that plus some. So
Which maybe we should explain is not usually the case with musical props in photos or live performances.
right,
A lot of
right.
that stuff is just for show. Like I never once thought Justice was actually playing music out of a giant stack of Marshall speakers. You know,
Right.
like a lot of that
Right.
stuff's for aesthetic. King Gizzard, it is all for function, which makes it that much more impressive for sure.
And that can also be true like half the time. So I've seen the Glitch Mob a couple of times, 3 times, and two out of those 3 times they were using the Blade, which was their big piece of each equipment that they created. That there's these giant drums that they bang on, and at one of the festival sets that I saw them, they were banging on the drum and nothing was happening musically. And so that, I mean, but on the flip side of that, I saw them in a small club and they were doing that, and there was things that were corresponding to those hits. So it's
Interesting.
yeah, it is interesting, and I'm not trying to call out the Glitch Mob or anything like that because they were probably doing something else. But it's really cool to know that I think that they're most definitely going to be using all of these, and they're probably going to do it all live, which is almost more impressive than recording on it. So
Yeah, I think more excited to see how they pull a lot of these songs off live with all of this equipment in terms of being as excited as I am to just hear this album in full. But we
and
don't have to wait long, man. It's like 2 to 3 weeks away.
Right. And just one more thing. I think that they've made a ton of money over their album releases and their live shows, and I think they spent it all on equipment. So we at least
Yeah.
owe them a listen here because that list was extensive unless they rented some of it. So
Oh, like it or not, at this point, I support always, you know?
right, right, right.
All right, man, let's move on. We got a new one from Ty Segall called Eggman. This is a weird one if the name didn't give it away. I like the way it sounds, but the lyrics are just dumb, man. I know
Oh
that's the
yeah.
point, but it didn't make it more enjoyable for me knowing that. I'm glad he played guitar on this one, though, since apparently that's not always a given. What did you think of these?
This dude is so fucking weird, man. I love it so much. I am wildly curious to see how this entire album sounds because so far this rollout has been very odd to say the least. I will
Yes.
say that there's this weird collective in Los Angeles, like in the Valley, that he plays at pretty often. I'd say 3 or 4 times a year, and it's like a botanical garden slash music venue.
It's the most LA shit I've ever fucking heard.
Yeah, and I think this type of music is perfect for that kind of venue.
I 10 out of 10 would go, you know?
Right,
That sounds
exactly,
awesome.
exactly.
I always wanted to go to a show at the Baked Potato. Did you hear about that place?
No.
So it's you know how we used to go see Volto, Danny Carey's other band in LA at a few bars?
Yeah.
He would also play in a band. I think what the Baked Potato would do is it would be five musicians all from different bands playing that night, and you reserve your seat for the night, and it's a very small bar, and alls they serve is different types of baked potatoes.
That sounds
Um,
amazing.
yeah, never got to go. The one time I like tried to get tickets, his night was already booked up. But yeah, it sounds like a great time. You and anybody listening should look up the baked potato in LA if you're a fan of music and or baked potatoes.
That sounds really fucking cool, man.
All right, man, moving on. We got a new one from Taking Back Sunday called Amphetamine Smiles. After seeing the track list to their new album, this is the opener. How are you feeling about that?
Uh, this is a good song. It's just not a good Taking Back Sunday song. It's my favorite of their singles, though, so far. So it's a really
I
weird
don't know.
feeling.
I think I like So Old still a little bit more than this one. It did not get me excited to hear the rest of the album. None of the singles have really excited me per se, but I don't know. I remain curious to hear how this album will come out. This being the opening track, though, I already know I'm not going to just start this one buzzing like a lot of great albums tend to
Right.
do with great opening tracks. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We got a new one from Two Door Cinema Club called Sure Enough. How are you feeling about this?
Synth poppy as hell, man. I guess they released an album last year, but if I'm honest, I have not listened to them since like 2012 when they released Beacon. This is good enough. It's synthy pop rock.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's got a like Devo-esque kind of opening to it before going in more of like a post-punk direction. It's pretty sick though. I liked it.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, we got a new one from Sweet Pill called Star Child. We are now getting to the good shit. I was texting you about Sweet Pill recently. They're currently on tour with the Wonder Years, Anxious, and Action Adventure. When I saw that lineup, I had to check out Sweet Pill because they were the only band I had not heard of on that bill yet. I threw on their debut album that came out last year, and I've been throwing it on every week, maybe day since. They're quickly becoming one of my current favorites. I'm happy they put out a new song so that we could talk about it. I absolutely love this. It was almost my song of the week. I need you to hear their full album from last year as soon as possible, though. But since this is all you've heard so far, what do you think?
I really dig this song, man.
Fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
you told me about this band. I listened to this track quite a bit this week. It's got a real Circa Survive vibe going on for me, and I really,
Yep.
really dig it, man. They definitely deserve that spot next to Action Adventure, who we fucking love over here, Anxious, who we fucking love over here, and the Wonder Years, who we
Yep.
obviously fucking love over here. So good for them.
Yeah, it's the 10-year anniversary of I don't remember the name of the album by the Wonder Years, but they're touring that and apparently they did two sets. They did one of that album front to back and then they did another full hour set of all of their other hits from all of their other albums. So, yeah, man, my friends that went all had a very good time. One of them who's also I think a big Sweet Pill fan. She managed to meet them at the merch table. They all signed her
Hey,
vinyl and
that's
shit. She
tight.
said they were all really cool people. Yeah,
That's
sounded like a
tight.
good time.
Yeah, when I most anniversary tours that I've gone to a couple of them. One of them was at a new location for the Anaheim House of Blues way back in 2017 or 2018 for Silverstein's when Broken is Easily Fixed, and they did the same thing. So they played the album front to back, and then they were like, "All right, greatest hits set, let's go." And I got you love that feeling, you know.
Yeah, you need that serotonin rush to get you through the physical pain you're going to be in the next day from a 2 hour set. I
Right.
think the big reason, not to take this elsewhere, that I hate Thrice though is because I had to watch like a 2 hour set of theirs before I liked them, you know?
You're just wrong,
That
man.
that type of experience can break a person, dude. Trust me. Same with Dashboard. Oh my God. All right, we'll move on though. We got some more good music to talk about, starting with a new one from Anxious called Down Down. This back to back with that Sweet Pill track was just my favorite two-song run on the playlist this week. Both upcoming bands touring fresh off the heels of their debut albums and already following it up with new music just as good as the albums were. I'm fucking loving this shit, man. What about you?
Yeah, Anxious has put out just consistent bangers since I've been listening to them since last year. I love this track much like I love most of their music. Man, bring it on.
I'm extra bummed I didn't go to that show because they have a tour exclusive vinyl that they're selling right now, and
Ooh,
I kind of wanted it.
damn,
Um, yeah, you have Little Greenhouse on vinyl, don't you?
I sure do.
Damn one. I was listening to that yesterday, man. Holds up
Yeah,
so so
for
fucking
sure. Yeah,
well.
I listened to it a few weeks ago.
Really, really good.
Yep, it's a good one.
Got a new one from Youth Fountain called Roses in My Backpack. It's just another quality track from him, man. His new album is shaping up to be really good. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, speaking of consistent, Youth Fountain is quickly becoming one of my favorite adds to this playlist every week. This is great stuff.
Same.
I learned this week that this is a solo project. Have we talked about that?
We have not talked about it, but yes, that is true. It is a solo project.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Good for him.
Yeah, man. Together and Lonesome is his upcoming album. Also drops November 3rd. Love the album artwork on this one as well.
Yeah,
Really good
same.
shit. Got a new one from Neck Deep called It Won't Be Like This Forever. I know they aren't your thing. I like them though. I thought this track was good. I'm excited to hear their new album when it drops early next year. Did this get you excited at all for it?
I think it's his voice. This is obviously
Too
good pop
nasally?
punk. And you know what? I've been a huge fan of Newfound Glory for like a long time, and I don't know why this guy's voice bothers me, but it does. This is great pop punk music, man. His voice just doesn't do it for me. Maybe that's it. I don't fucking know. I will definitely go into the album with an open mind, though.
Sure.
The what is it? Life Isn't Out to Get You. That album you made me listen to is good. I mean,
Yes. Love that
it's a
one.
great album. So we'll see what this one holds.
They're going self-titled for this one, which should be interesting. It's always kind of weird when a band does that not as their first album, I think. So
I was
we'll
actually
see.
thinking that it is weird to do it as your first. I was literally having this thought earlier today.
Is it?
I personally think that if you're going to self-title an album, it's got to be the definitive work for you because you're titling this work after your name.
Yeah.
I think waiting a few albums, getting your legs under your feet, might make more sense. But to each their own. That's funny that you said that because I was thinking the complete opposite.
It's also funny that Drugs has two self-titled albums, technically.
Right,
I'm
right.
never gonna get over that. I guess that's the best way to do it. Just self-title every album, right? What
Well,
about the Run the Jewels way? What about that? Like
I,
RTJ1, RTJ2.
I mean, I like that. It's kind of the same as like LP1, LP2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
What are your thoughts on like albums like the album Black Sabbath by the band Black Sabbath that holds the song Black Sabbath? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's the same as Run
Doing
the
the
Jewels
triple?
by Run the Jewels
Right.
on the album Run the Jewels. Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't bug me, man. I think that
I
those
love
are actually
it.
some of my favorite songs by those
Right. Right. I
artists.
love it.
So I'm for it. I just expect the song to be really, really good because
It's
it's
got to
not
be
just
right.
like the synthesis of the album you're putting it on. It's the synthesis of your band in general. So
Right. Right.
yeah, better live up. All right, man. We got a new one from Knuckle Puck called Losing What We Love, another album that is creeping up on us. I thought this one was great, man. That bridge to outro section is beautiful. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I've liked all of these singles. I'm just super fucking stoked for this album to drop already.
Same, man. I went back to their album from 2020 earlier today, and man, I can't believe I slept on them for so long. It's top tier pop punk. It really is.
Yep, I agree.
Got a new one from Sleeping with Sirens called Don't Let the Party Die. This is I think the only new track off the deluxe edition for Complete Collapse. I love how much heavier they've gotten recently, at least on a more consistent basis. This one should be a lot of fun live. What'd you think of it?
This is a fantastic track. It's
Really
funny.
good.
I had a good friend of mine. Shout out to Chris. He went and saw the Used up in Seattle, I believe, this last weekend, and he texted me saying, "Hey man, I'm at the Used show. He knows I love them." And I was like, "Great, who's opening?" He was like, "I don't know, something with sirens." And I was like, "You're seeing Sleeping with Sirens?"
Did he end up texting you afterwards?
Yeah, I think he really liked it, man.
Good, man. His voice can't be for everybody, but
No.
I think this slightly heavier sound is fitting them pretty well.
Yeah, I really like this one. So far, this has been this is funny. As I was writing these notes, I was reflecting on the last like 7 singles, and I was like, this is a fucking run of singles on this playlist. It's just been so much fun.
Yeah, man. A lot of music this week, but a lot of really good music, which is not
Right,
always the
right,
case.
right.
Speaking of, we got a new one from Sum 41 called Landmines. I'm not sure what phase of their like retirement tour slash album cycle they're in right now, but I'm happy they're going out on a high note like this, man. This is a really good track. What'd you think of it?
I agree. I think this is the start of the rollout for their final album.
Okay.
I think that's what this
That's
is.
where we're
I could
at.
be wrong. I believe they're currently on their final tour, or the tour for this next album is going to be their final. I don't fucking know. But what I do
This
know
is like
is that
the
I did
Elton
like
John
this
tour.
song.
Yeah.
Is that Dodger Stadium thing still on Disney Plus? I never watched that.
It is, and might be his last concert at Dodger Stadium, but God, man, the guy, I don't know. It's just like a never-ending thing.
Right,
It's
right.
I think when his last concert happens, we'll know. We'll know.
Dude,
You know.
yeah, no, I'm not going to say what I was going to say because I don't want to put that energy into the world.
Please don't.
But, yeah,
Please don't.
good.
But no,
Good
no,
for you, Elton.
I think that there is an end date to it all, but I think it was like a multiple year thing because it was like I'm going to play for the last time in every country and then sometimes multiple shows per area. And
Right.
he's in no rush. Like he can stay in an area for a month, kind of really tour it, get it out, play all the big amphitheaters and opera houses and all that shit.
Good for him, man. That dude has one of the most solid discographies out there.
Oh, that's like tier A1 in terms of the Hall of
Right.
Fame, man.
Right.
Forever. Yeah. All right, got a new one from Paint It Black called Dominion. What did you think of this one?
A healthy dose of punk without the pop this week. I've been digging their releases, and this one is no different for me. I really like this one. I really like the photo on the album cover or this
Yep.
single art. I liked all of this. This was a great. This is a great time.
Yeah, man, it's another really solid single from them. I don't know if we've reviewed a full album of hardcore punk like this yet, but their new album, Famine, drops November 3rd as well. So if we haven't, it won't be very long before we do.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be like 15, 20 minutes though. So even though that week is becoming busy, it'll be a quick listen. I'll listen to it like
Yes.
18 times.
I
So
love that, honestly. All right, we got a new one from Synestia and Friends called The Poetic Eddy. This track just fucking rules. It is so goddamn heavy, but it's really well done. The strings on it are absolutely insane, and it has one of the best album artworks I've seen all year. What did you think of this one?
Wall of Sound symphonic deathcore, so
Yep.
hot right now. I really like this one, man. I actually have been getting into Disembodied Tyrant, and that's who I follow to have gotten this song. I had never heard of Synestia, but this track was a fucking banger, man. It's really good. It's definitely Wall of Soundy, but it is really cool. And like you said, the artwork on this one is top notch. So I threw it on because it was a lot of fun when I first heard it.
So, based on the artwork, the information on the artwork, it seems like they're dropping a four-track EP together.
That's awesome. Fuck yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Looks like two of them are out. We'll wait till all four are out and we'll throw it on.
Yep.
Got a new one from Boys Noise and VTSS called Steady Pace. The man just does not fucking miss, dude. This is an instant banger. I loved this, man. It's not a return to form for Boys Noise because he never loses form, but goddamn, I love this side of him. What did you think of it?
Hey man, it's a little poppy, but it's got that boys noise flair to it. You know, it's got like a lot of little
Got that
production
bounce.
details. It's
Yep.
got that bounce. It's got these like these little stabs of sound that like come out of nowhere and never
Yep.
return. And I think the dude is just on another level right now, and I think he's having a lot of fun doing what he's doing right now. So fuck yeah, good for him.
He fucking rules, man. Love it.
Yep.
Got a new one from John Summit and Ultra. It's called Legacy. What did you think of this one?
This is kind of boring, man. It's like good, but it feels empty.
So would you rather have him do Cascade Ripoff House instead of Tech House like this?
Yes.
Okay, good. At least you have a preference in the matter.
Yeah, I look, man. He's just never connected to me. Tech House is like super hot right now because it's kind of that bridge into all the cool kids that wear black New Balances that go to techno raves,
Yeah.
and the people that go to Academy in LA. You know, it's kind of like that bridge. So it feels a little trend chasey, like I think I've always felt with John Summit, but I would prefer him just rip off some Cascade shit because honestly, it's better than this.
Yeah, man. I'll agree. I'll agree. This is, I think, his first miss of the year. I really liked Fade Out. I think Where You Are is just one of the best EDM songs of the year, but this one did not connect with me either. So I'm with you.
Neat.
Wrapping up the singles with a new one from LPGOB called Time Expands. What did you think of it?
As is tradition, Miss Giobi just kills everything she fucking touches.
Yeah, man, it is so good, man. Her music is so good, it makes me actually consider leaving my house to go to a dance show again, which is just crazy because I will not.
Right.
But
Right.
she makes me consider it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Maybe if she hits an airstream up near you with DJ
God damn, bring
Tennis.
the Airstream to her. Come
Right.
on, bring
Right.
it
She
through.
needs to do that again, man. I'm sad I missed that shit.
Please. Please. All right, we got a few EPs this week,
We
more than
do.
usual. Starting off, we got a new one from Omar Apollo. This is his new EP, Live For Me. Much like his last album, Ivory, it's very derivative of Blonde in terms of the overall sound, but also like his last album, I really enjoy it, man. Blonde came out in 2016. We really shouldn't be surprised that we're hearing its influence from newer artists coming up in 2023. When I say it's derivative, I don't mean that in a Greta Van Fleet way either. He does a really good job of making this his own, but it's kind of hard to ignore the stylistic similarities, especially on a track like Pilot, but that did not stop me from listening to all four of these all week. Did you enjoy the CP?
Yeah, I knew you were fucking stoked when this dropped.
Of course.
Honestly, man, Omar is quickly becoming one of my favorite acts right now in R&B/pop, dude. He's got like a lot of texture in the production. His voice is fucking great. Ice
Yeah.
Slippin' is my favorite of these, but all of them are really good. This is a kind of like a fun project. Angel has him at some of his most confident that I've heard from him in the last year or so, and
Yeah.
the album art I think was painted by somebody, and I like all of this.
Speaking of the album art, the back is the lower half of his body painted. Full
Yeah,
peen, man.
straight up, good for him.
Yeah, yeah. It was funny when the music video for Ice Slippin' came out. He's like, new song, new music video, peen reveal. So yeah, I'm glad he's feeling confident in his body,
Oh,
man.
good
He
for
should.
him.
He's a beautiful person for sure.
Good for him.
All right, man, we got a new EP from XG, New DNA. This is not a K-pop group that we've talked about on the podcast yet. This is a seven-piece group, pretty new. They put out two songs earlier this year, both of which were great, by the way. But this is their first official EP. I think they're calling it a mini album. I've heard a few of these tracks as singles, but my favorite track on this release, actually my two favorites are the two songs I hadn't heard yet, which are X Gene and Puppet Show. They have just incredible voices. They play off each other's strengths really well. I can see it maybe sounding a little bit too manufactured, but that's just pop music in general. What did you think of this, man? Did songs like Puppet Show kind of take you back to like the golden days of bubblegum pop?
Yeah, man. This one took me by surprise, like the whole project did. I love the like weird dystopian robot intro. I love the contrast of like melodic choruses and rapping verses. XG kills this one, man. I had a really good time listening to it. I whenever you throw something on that I've never heard, I assume that it's K-pop, and so I did think that it was, and and I clicked on it, and that robot intro comes on, and I was like, what the fuck did John just put on here? And it really surprised me
It's
with how much
K-pop.
I like it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. All right, moving on. We got a new EP from No Guidance. This is their new one, Spicy. Huge props to these guys for dropping two EPs in a matter of months. That's the type of output I love when a new artist or group are making a name for themselves. They're also just building chemistry, man. You just keep hearing them get better as they go. I think I keep saying that, but it's true, man. My only knock on this project, or my only knock on the last project, was that the songs were too short, but they've already stepped up in that regard. I really liked all four of these tracks, but If Only You Knew is an absolute banger, might be their best to date. What did you think of this one?
If Only You Knew was stuck in my fucking head for weeks.
It's
Like,
great,
like
man.
all
It's a
fun.
great one.
I woke up the other day fucking singing it in my head. And I was like, I haven't even listened to it in a couple of days, man. It's a like the definition of a fucking earworm, man. Look, dude,
Yes.
these guys are fucking hungry, and it shows. Getting to hear a smaller group like this is really neat, man. And I don't think I've had the opportunity to do that with a group in R&B ever. Their music speaks for itself, man. They've got the voices, the production, and the gusto. I think they're gonna make it, bro.
Yeah, they're on tour opening up for Mahalia right now, who we just
Fuck
reviewed a couple
yeah.
months ago,
Good
which
for
really,
them.
really awesome. Yeah, good for them. All right, talk to me about this new EP from Captain Pastek called Broken.
Okay. Another one from Xenon Records. We reviewed an album from Triforce a few weeks ago. Same record label here.
Yep.
There's obviously a lot of techno here, and there isn't anything that's like never been done before, but I really like this project, man. It's unique. It's not trying to be too hard. It's heavy. It's fast. I keep going back to this one, man. If it's a sample at the beginning of "Fuck with the King," I don't know how you pronounce the second track. I'm gonna try it. Zhuge, Zhuge, is that?
Yes.
It's my song of the week, man. I was listening to it and
Wow.
I
Okay.
was just blown the fuck away, bro. I was in the car. I think I was like frustrated about something, having to go do something. It was a frustrating couple of weeks, and I was in the car. I think I was going to Home Depot, and I was like, I need something just fucking fast. So I put this on, and I was instantly just like in it. My head was bobbing. People were looking. I was cranking my car. I was like, let's go. So
Dude, fuck yeah. I'm surprised it's your song of the week, but I should not be because this is fucking tight, dude. The live sounding drums and Fuck with the King caught me off guard
So
on my
cool.
first listen. Had to run it back immediately,
Yeah,
dude. That
so
track
cool.
is, dude, so cool. That track is perfect. And it only gets better from there, dude. His style is so unique for techno, but I love it, dude. I'm sure it's been done, but I've never really heard it done like this. I had not heard of him until now, but I'm definitely a fan after hearing this one.
Yeah, same. I will definitely be following Captain Pastek, and yeah, man, I'm glad you liked it. I really fucking dug this project, and I've been digging everything from Xenon Records lately. So
Same, man. Really good shit. Are you ready to move on to the albums?
I am, sir. I can't wait. Actually,
All right, let's start off with the new one from Drake, For All the Dogs. Like his last few projects, there's a good album in there somewhere, but bloat, fan service, too many beat switches just bring down what I think is otherwise one of his better post Scorpion projects. I'll start with what I like, and that is the production, obviously. Everything else aside, I think this is one of the best produced albums of the year. The beats on tracks like What Would Pluto Do and Polar Opposites are just some of the best I think he's ever had the chance to rap or sing over, at least in recent history. And the way 40 sampled an unreleased Frank Ocean track to create the album opener Virginia Beach was actually pretty creative and I thought came across really well. The best moment on the album, though, comes when we arrive at J. Cole's verse on First Person Shooter, which is one of his best in recent memory. But it doesn't take Drake very long to ruin it for me by naming off girls' names and his contacts that rhyme. It's incredibly dumb and just one of the many examples of him ruining a perfectly good song with absolute garbage lyrics. It sucks being a trap R&B fan who's also not a fuckboy because it's all the genre seems to cater to lyrically.
right.
There's already a million articles about all the Drakiest Drakeisms on this album, so I don't need to go into specifics, but there's some of his worst bars to date on here, but this is far from his worst album to date. I think it'll land somewhere in the lower middle of his overall album rankings by the time we're all done digesting it completely. I'm giving it a 5 though. My standout is Polar Opposites. I'm probably done with this one though and just going to move on. What about you? How are you feeling about this one?
All right. Well, I've got Drake exhaustion at this point, man. He keeps throwing shit to the wall and nothing is really sticking for me. And the worst part is that I like really want them to, you know.
Mhm.
There's a Drake stan that I work with. Shout out to Bree. Even she couldn't like finish this album. I did twice. It's a trudge though at an hour and almost an hour and a half. I thought we were told old Drake was coming back. I don't know, man. Look, man, we've talked a lot about how much I love when you can tell artists are hungry. We just talked about that on with No Guidance. Drake is indeed hungry here, but more like an emaciated and like aging out of the pride lion that like desperately needs to eat, otherwise he'll die. So he's like trying
Yep.
to emulate all the other lions in the pride while not realizing that he's not eating because he's lost his own identity. I know that's a shitty analogy, but it's better than any of the analogies
No,
Drake
I
put
can
on this
picture
album.
it. I can
So,
picture it.
so I'm gonna stick to it. I really want to like Drake's recent music, man, but it just does nothing for me besides make me like laugh and cringe every once in a while. There's a handful of good bars on this record. I'm not going to say there's not. There's a lot of really good production, and I'll agree with you there. 40 did a fucking bang up job on this whole record, man. There's but there's nothing memorable here except for like that interlude where the girl is complaining about the vacation where she has to eat nothing but oxtail. Oh, the horror. So
That ruins the song that it's on by completely derailing it for like 2 minutes, dude.
look, man, one thing I really want to talk about though on this is like how much he tries to emulate his features. His flow on the government mandated 21 Savage featured track Calling for Savage calling for you is it's a 21 Savage flow. He's like really trying to be Yeet on I Don't Give a Fuck. Like the entire flow from both of them is exactly what I dislike in rap music nowadays. The only time he's really in his element is the last bar after, like the last couple of bars after the beat switch on First Person Shooter, which is clearly his own flow, but his first verse on this one is just a Cole emulation, and it's really bad because J. Cole comes on and absolutely just decimates his verse. That's my standout track of this album here. It's just this whole album is a sea of mediocrity, man. There's a couple of decent tracks like The Part, but there's a couple of decent like parts of tracks that I really liked on this one. So like SZA's part on Slime You Out, which I still don't really get. Gently with Bad Bunny is pretty good. Polar Opposites actually has some moments that remind me of his So Far Gone era, and I really kind of wish we got more tracks like Polar Opposites, because if we did, I might actually really like this album. I would just love for Drake to take a couple of years off, rest, write, maybe release a 12-track album that's like 45 minutes, and he would absolutely just destroy streaming numbers. That album, you don't need to release 24 songs, bro. People will restart your album if it's good enough, and if you just put 12 songs out, they'll restart those 12 songs. I'm gonna. It's somewhere between a 3 and a 4 for me. I didn't hate it, but like I definitely didn't like it. First person shooter is my standout because Cole just fucking delivers.
Hey, I think all of that's incredibly fair. I will say, in his defense, this is the closest thing to old Drake I think that there's been. What old Drake that is up to your
I was gonna say
debate, you know. But I do hear glimpses of, at least production-wise, the old Drake. But man, just the runtime, like you said, you don't need to put this many tracks on it. Like I'm looking on my computer screen, and the amount that can fit on it is Virginia Beach through Tried Our Best, which when I listened to this the first time, I kind of had to split it up because I was working. So like I listened to the first couple songs and then like the whole middle chunk of the album. And when I was finishing Tried Our Best, I was like, I had that feeling like the album was almost done. And I was like, you know what? Like, it wasn't all great, but that was actually pretty good. And then I was like, oh, I'm not even halfway done with this fucking thing yet. And I was like, oh, and then it ruined it, man. Because it all from there just becomes so repetitious, dude. So fucking repetitious. Even though some of the best songs come in the back half of the album, he could have trimmed so much of this and made it way, way better.
So, John, you and I have been talking about music for like a long time, and this is pre we became music critics and put it out into the world. In 2017, Scorpion released. That was a big day for us. We were like, fuck it. 2018. Scorpion released. Yeah. I remember fucking driving around town, driving around Murrieta, and just bumping this. And I remember texting you and being like, why 17 songs? And your response was, there's a good album in there somewhere. And that's because there's a couple of great songs on that album. But like, my God, man, when you put it next to the garbage, everything smells like garbage.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you can't put Michael Jackson features next to garbage, man. It's just not right.
Exactly.
Or in this case, SZA features,
Right.
Yeah. It's another miss, but probably one of his better works in recent memory.
Fair.
Let's move on to a new one from his boss. Is Lil Wayne's new mixtape, The Fix Before the Six. We said mixtape Wayne was hit or miss. Is it a hit or is it a miss for you, Brandon?
Yes. So my expectations were geared properly for this mixtape. And these are quite obviously throwaways from like a number of different projects he's had over the years. And it comes off as that. It's just basically every mixtape he's released. So there's a couple, right? Like I think his Dedication 2 is fucking great. And I'm a big fan of No Ceilings, but there's like 6 misses on No Ceilings also. So he spends a lot of time on this tape talking about a lot of dicks and a lot of pussy. However, I don't think I've ever agreed with him more when he said, and I'll quote here, quote, titties, 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 titties. Unquote.
Yeah.
Insightful as ever.
Sure.
In all seriousness, man, I've never heard of Euro, but his verse on Tuxedo is great. One of the halves of Birds is great. I'll let you choose which half. This dude is so funny, man. Quote, turn around and hit it from the B side. Oh man, I know that he like really pioneered a lot of the auto tune we hear in rap today, but I really think he went overboard with it on this project, probably because he had to hide his voice a little bit. Overall, man, I had fun listening to this, and I think that was the intention. Nobody was expecting an album. This is a mixtape. Do we have a date on the Carter 6 yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah, that's what I figured. We're a year at least out. My standout is Birds. I think the production on that one and that half of it is pretty good. It's a 5 for me, man. It's not great, but who the fuck was expecting it to be?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but I still was hoping that there'd be a few more songs that I
Yeah.
enjoyed, dude. It's a lot of misses for me. You touched on pretty much all the moments except my favorite track, which is Slip, which I think is just closest to the flow of his I enjoy the most, kind of that mahogany, that like songs like that. He snaps into that Wayne flow a little bit. Clearly still one of the best rappers in the game. Production for a mixtape, especially of Wayne's, very, very well done. Um, he just needs the right beat, right subject matter to make things work. And I just don't feel like those two things intersect often enough on this mixtape. I'm going to give it a 4. My standout is Slip, but I remain very optimistic about the Carter 6.
Yeah, I don't think this has any indication of the quality of the Carter 6, and anybody who's saying that
Not at
it
all.
will
No,
is has never listened to Lil Wayne.
not at all.
I will say that I know that these are throwaways from projects, probably like 10 years ago, even because you can tell on
You
some
think
of the
that old,
tracks.
really?
I do, and here's why: you can tell on some of the tracks, from verse to verse, the his voice is mixed differently. Some of the sound quality is so much
Oh,
worse
okay, I
on.
see.
You,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they just stitched together a bunch of verses. I'm sure he recorded a number of these like for this mixtape. Like, I think what Cat Food, I think that one's new. But I think a lot of this was just stitched together. So
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
I mean, I had my
Sounds like
expectations
it.
metered. I was excited, but I was excited to like hear him again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. You did it right. You did it right, man. I didn't set myself up for disappointment. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a year until the Carter 6, but I do think it'll be a couple months at least. We will
For
see
sure.
though. All right, moving on. We got a new one from Jorja Smith. Her new album, Falling or Flying, is out. This is another just absolutely gorgeous album from her. She's only 2 albums into her official discography, and she's already cemented a name for herself among some of the all-time greats. Her voice, her writing, her approach are all flawless. The album opens up with the lead single Try Me before moving into the early standout She Feels. And the most commercially successful track from this project so far, the Garage Jam, Little Things, which only gets better every time I listen to it. From there, we clearly move into album cut territory, but the bar for quality just remains so high throughout this one. And even though some of these tracks are shorter than she typically releases, they feel just as substantial to me and actually kind of help the album not feel like it's losing momentum. That run from try to fit in or try and fit in through lately is the type of mid-album run of songs that separates her from so many of her current peers, where that would be a trudge for other artists. It kind of just breezes by for her and it's very enjoyable.
Right.
I'm sure the R&B world is taking note when it comes to this release, and they should because it's the right way to do it. My only real knock on this one is putting a song like Little Things on a project where nothing else sounds even remotely like it. It throws off the cohesion a little bit, but it's worth it at the same time to get a track that good on this album. I'm giving this one an 8. My standout is Little Things, obviously. How are you feeling about this one, man?
Georgia Smith has a fucking voice, man.
Yeah.
I see artists across all genres tend to either have like a banger for their sophomore try, or they have the dreaded yet ever so common sophomore slump. This is a banger, man. At least mostly. We get a ton. We had a ton of singles for this record: "Go Go Go," "Flying or Fallen," "Broken Is the Man," and "Feelings." I don't think we covered "Feelings," but it's my least favorite of the singles that she released.
Yep.
All the other ones though are great, and she has this presence on the mic that, in my opinion, like really conveys passion throughout the whole thing. There are some fantastic album cuts, obviously Little Things, Try Me, and even the closer, What If My Heart Breaks Faster, which is the perfect closer for this record. I think it flows well between tracks. I think, like you said, the Little Things kind of does fuck with the cohesion a little bit, but otherwise the album is pretty cohesive. And I think I've been cemented as a fan of hers, man. But let's be real. If she did an a cappella record, it would still be fucking amazing because her voice is
Yep.
seriously something special, man. It's a 7.5 for me. Little Things is the best song on this album.
Yeah, dude, her voice is the ultimate weapon on it.
For
Like
sure.
the instrumentation behind it is beautiful, and it's great that she takes so much time to like make sure that every moment of that is just as thought out as her words and her voice. But man, her
It's
voice just kind of is like it's a cheat code.
with how good her voice is, it doesn't matter how good the instrumentation is. It's irrelevant. Her voice takes the show in every single song, and the production being so good is just a cherry on top.
And every time she hops on a house or garage beat, it does massive numbers, man. The Vintage Culture
Because
remix
they're
of her
fucking
song
good.
Slow Down, yeah, On My Mind. She has a lot of this is just Little Things is just another entry. I would love to see her work with like Disclosure or even Craig David on some house or garage tracks, man.
There
They
you
would
go.
fucking kill it,
There you
dude.
go.
Disclosure and Jorja Smith? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
I'd love to
That would
hear
be incredible.
like a J to G remix of one of these or something.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah, that would be match made in heaven, dude.
Right.
Good shit as always from Georgia.
Yes, sir.
Definitely worth the wait. Moving on, we got a new one from Lil Youth, his new album About Us. You already know I love this man.
I
I'm
know
just
you do.
I'm just a big fan of his sound, and this album is nothing but that, dude. I can see this not being for everyone, but for the ones it's for, like me, it's great. It gets a little repetitive at times, but that's hardly an issue for me. Even though the overarching sound of the album never changes at its core, there's still a lot of variety to be found on it. You have the deep tracks like that you can get lost in, like Back Around and his collab with Lane 8. You have tracks that you can kind of turn off your brain to and just vibe to, like Morning Light and Talking Like That. And the overarching sound of his that I mentioned a second ago always has a lot of variety to it because it's built on a combination of so many things. Like it's house, there's some trance in there, there's pop in there, there's even a little bit of R&B in there. He uses these genres like a musical Swiss Army knife, and the results are consistently amazing as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, man, I really liked this. He's 2 for 2 in terms of his albums, and he did it in back-to-back years, which is pretty crazy to me. I'm giving this one an 8. My standout is Talking Like That. How are you feeling about it?
In a sea of hard groove, techno, John Summit tech house remixes, dubstep, and chaotic EDM releases, we have this little record label called This Never Happened, which has just become a refuge, a little pocket of refuge for me. Every week there's been a new release, and both you and I have been very excited about this particular one.
Yep.
Youth's follow up for his last year's album, About Us. Is it melodic? Sure is. Is it progressive? Definitely. Emotional? Check. It's passionate. There's tracks with vocals. There's instrumental tracks. It's got literally everything I wanted, and it never fails to calm me down from a stressful day, of which I've had a few these last couple of weeks. So I commented last week that we had almost heard the entire album from all of the singles that had been released. And while we did hear 4 singles, you were completely right that we had not really even begun to hear this album for what it is. It is a full hour of gorgeous melodies, soft yet driving percussion, fantastic vocal performances. Like You Did is fucking, it's just beautiful, man.
Yeah.
And while I liked all of the singles, some of these album cuts are fucking great. I'll Catch You has this melody that just puts me in a trance. You and I has this like emotion and passionate build to it, and that final crescendo on that track is fucking great. I really enjoyed this album, and I'm gonna give it a 7.5. And Like You Did is my standout just because of how much of a fucking earworm that is.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you're enjoying this one just as much as I am. I think that any dance fan that listens to This Never Happened is going to gravitate towards one artist more than another, and he is just kind of my
Right.
spirit artist in that regard. I imagine Lane 8 is yours, and they are just so fun to bond over. Every release of theirs, especially this year, has just been insanely high quality, and I'm
For
looking
sure.
forward to what's next since they don't appear to be slowing down.
No, I don't think that they are.
No. Yeah, I think Lee Youth dropped three really good singles before this album this year that aren't even on the album. So,
Right.
man, yeah, I would not doubt it if he drops another absolute banger before the year's over.
That whole fucking record label, man, is just this pocket of creativity that is just it's blossoming. And we hear like artists I've never even fucking heard of, and they're blowing me away. So I'm very interested to really know like how they're building up these artists, like how what the creative process is like, because dear God, man, this record label is just putting out nothing but beautiful music.
It's them in Afterlife for dance label of the year. It's
Yeah.
got to be.
It
Yeah.
gotta be.
Moving on, we got a new album from Steven Wilson, The Harmony Codex. Did this one live up to your expectations for it?
I'm gonna assume you know that I listened to this album like a half a dozen times already. It's
Minimum. Yeah.
it's really dense, yet it's friendly enough to show other people. Reminds me a lot of what I imagine Pink Floyd would sound like if they were releasing music today. I know Roger Waters just did his weird thing, but we're gonna leave him alone in that corner. Ranging from ambient landscapes to driving bass lines to guitar solos, vocal harmonies, not to mention a little bit of brass and strings. This album has it fucking all, man. Steven takes us on this like winding and intricate journey throughout this record. I listened to it a ton of times, and this dude just knows how to make incredible music. The singles we got were really good, I think. The album kind of slides around from like Pink Floyd influenced psychedelic rock into like synthy 80s yes influenced passages, and he gets the assignment right every single time. Rock Bottom has some haunting and passionate vocal trade-offs with Ninette.
Yep.
As always, though, with a Steven Wilson or Steven Wilson fronted project, there's always a couple of tracks that really speak to me. On this record, one of them is Beautiful Scarecrow. That bass line is fucking wild, and the drumming is top-notch, and the ambiance that's created is just so neat, man. The understated vocals, the subtle piano, and the way it all builds and crescendos, super fucking neat. The best one of these special tracks is going to be my standout. It's Staircase. It's one of those tracks that's best listened to in sequence. It happens to be the closer, which you know I'm partial
Big
to.
surprise. Yeah.
The lyrics are interesting to say the least. The chord progressions used, the drumming in sync with like nothing and everything all at once. And the way it just kept me fully engaged on first and every subsequent listens for 9.5 minutes. It's really fucking special. I'm a big fan of that song. I'm a big fan of this album. I am a big fan of Steven Wilson. I haven't decided where this fits into my personal ranking of his solo discography yet, but I think it's going to be up there, man. I'm going to give it a 9. My standout was Staircase. What did you think about Steven Wilson's newest project, the Harmony Codex, John?
Of all the projects you've introduced me to that I would describe as random, this might be the best, man. You sent me that video for Economies of Scale back when it dropped, and I was kind of hooked. That song in particular reminded me a lot of Radiohead, but this isn't one of those artists or albums where I'm only looking for things that sound like something else I like. What he's doing is definitely unique to him, even if it's occasionally reminiscent of another artist. It's not hard to think about artists like Led Zeppelin or the Eagles when you hear the harmonies he's doing on a song like What Life Brings, but he's just using classic musical building blocks to create what end up becoming these extremely complex songs. And I love how often he lets the music speak for itself. Impossible Tightrope being my favorite example of this on the album. Just phenomenal stuff. You've definitely made me a fan of his going forward. I'm giving this one
Hey,
an 8. My standout is Economies of Scale.
it's a good song.
Really good shit.
It's a
Yeah,
good
loved
song.
it, man. Great album.
Whole album's great. Yeah, I'm glad you really liked it, man. I'm glad you really liked it.
I did. I did. Thank
Good
you for
shit.
showing me.
You're welcome.
All right, we got a new one from Carnifex called Necromantium.
Switching
Goddamn,
gears
I've been waiting to
entirely.
say that. Yes. Very excited for this one, but I really want to know your thoughts on it first.
So, look, man, there honestly is not a Carnifex album that I don't enjoy. Some are better than
No.
others, but they've been massively consistent for like 15, 16 years now. This album is no exception, and you can tell as soon as it starts that it's a Carnifex album. That
Yep.
first mellow death riff and the way Scott comes right out with his signature vocals. We get some gore, we get some horror, we get some synths and organs, we get some breakdowns, we get blast beats, and pure madness for almost 45 minutes. And I would not have it any other way. I really love the song Crowned in Ever Black. I highly recommend anybody who listened to this album and is a fan of this style of music, go back and read the lyrics for this song. It's actually about Trevor and his passing from Black Dahlia murder. It's a good song. Look, man, I love the mixture that we get from Carnifex with the quote-unquote blackened elements that aren't too overdone in the MySpace era of deathcore. You know, the one that has like hardcore elements that isn't just breakdowns. This one is somewhere between a 6 and a 7 for me. My favorite song though on this one is Infinite Night Terror. That track is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that track is fucking awesome, dude. What was your score?
Somewhere between a 6 and a 7.
Oh, okay, damn. Lower than mine, man. I don't know exactly what umbrella of extreme metal this album falls under, but whatever it is, I am loving it, dude. It's among my favorites of the heavier albums we've reviewed this year. And just yet another incredible entry into their already incredible discography. They waste no time setting the tone with the outstanding album opener, Torn in Two, before moving on to the also incredible Death's Forgotten Child, featuring Tom Barber of Chelsea Grin. Those two tracks alone cemented this one as a modern all-timer for me, but it really doesn't let up from there, man. We get the title track that we covered as a single a while back, which is still amazing, by the way. I was expecting a slight dip in quality after hearing how great the first 3 tracks were, but I thought it maintained that same breakneck pace, over the top creativity from start to finish, man. Oftentimes with albums like this, I'll gravitate towards one song or one moment, but this is one of the first metal albums in a while that I'm really appreciating almost every second of.
Amazing.
Little did I know that this band I saw live over 15 years ago in a church in Sacramento would still be making some of the best metal I can find in 2023, man. I'm giving this one an 8. My standout is Torn in Two.
That's
Love
awesome.
this one. And also, perfect time of year for this album, and one of the best album artworks of the year.
Yeah, it's a really good Halloween album, man. The sounds that are used and
that organ and shit, dude. Yes,
I can't take credit for it, but somebody commented on the Reddit thread, if the album cover is purple and green, the album's gonna be a fucking banger. I don't make the rules. So shout out to that guy on Reddit.
Shout out that guy.
Yeah, man, I liked it. It's good, man. It's not my favorite Carnifex record, but it is very good. I really enjoyed it.
Oh man, I feel like it's an Evil Dead situation. Like even the worst Evil Dead movie is still a great movie. Like
for
that's
sure.
Carnifex for me.
Sure.
Even
I don't think
the
it's their worst either.
Oh, it's definitely not, man. I enjoyed this one a lot. I don't think it's even close to their worst. I think it's one of their best, but I don't know about the best. I'll give you that.
There you go.
All right, let's move on, man, because I cannot wait any longer to talk about this new one from Koyo called Would You Miss It? I had a feeling this one would live up to my high expectations for it, but it somehow managed to surpass them. Everything I loved about the singles is present and bountiful throughout this album. The opener reeled me in right away. You're on the List is incredible, and the tracks we hadn't heard are just as good as the singles were. That breakdown on Flatline Afternoon, the bass line on Anthem, it's all great. I have zero criticisms for this record, dude. It just fucking goes. Like you, I listened to this one like 5 times a day when it dropped, and I'm still pretty much maintaining that pace, dude. I'm giving it a 10. I'm giving it a 10, and I'm not even thinking twice about it, man. My standout is it's either Flatline Afternoon or Message Like a Bomb, dude. I fucking love this album. What about you?
That is amazing. I don't think you've given many 10s this year. That's good shit, not. Bro. Look, man, is this hardcore? Is it emo? Is it pop punk? Who the fuck cares? It's at the very least adjacent to all of these, and it rips all the way through, man. It has everything I like about all of those genres. The drums are pounding and fast, the lyrics are emotional and passionate, and the vocals and melodies have just enough pop sensibility. Imagine this being your debut album, bro. Like, honestly, I couldn't stop listening to it this week. What I love about this is that they took the pop hooks of pop punk, melded it with the kind of like bullheadedness of hardcore, and it works so much better than I think many other bands could have pulled off with this formula. There's melodic tracks like Sayonara Motel and Flatline Afternoon, and then there's heavier tracks like Flatline Afternoon. Seriously, though, they fucking killed it, man. Their shows must be a ton of fun. Flatline Afternoon is my standout. It's both heavy and melodic and amazing. I gave this one a 9.
Dude, it's that breakdown at the end. I was listening to it today, and I've brought up their name a few times. They have music on streaming, but it's not the music that I know them for, and that's this band Mozart Season. The breakdown at the end of Flatline Afternoon is the most Mozart Season sounding shit I've ever heard from another band. Maybe that's part of the reason I gravitate towards this, but this is perfect, man. They fucking killed it.
This is great.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, let's wrap this week up with a new one from Harm's Way called Common Suffering. I know you've been dying to talk about this one, so please hit me.
You know what I love in a hardcore record, John?
What?
I love breakdowns that happen when you don't expect them. This happens so many times on this record, and I just love it, man. This record is relentless. I have really nothing bad to say about it. It's a pretty quick listen at just 34 minutes, which makes it really easy for me to listen to it like 7 times since it's been added to this playlist. When I was a kid, I really liked Bury Your Dead, specifically their album Cover Your Tracks. And listening to this new Harm's Way record had me feeling the same way as a 13, 14-year-old kid discovering hardcore for the first time. It is ferocious. It is relentless. It smashed every expectation I had for it. The only reprieve we get on this record is on Undertow with King Women featured. It's not less heavy per se, but it is definitely a little less ferocious. And King Women's vocals really add a layer of atmosphere that I fuck with in a great way. I really liked this album, man. It's a 7.5 for me. Wanderer or Terrorizer are my standout tracks. And this, we've had so much good album artwork this week alone, not to even to mention this year. But by God, man, this has got to be in the top 10.
It's another one. Yeah, it's another all-timer, and it's all in the same week. It's great. That Koyo one, I really, really like that artwork.
Yeah, man.
Too. There's so many, dude. I agree with you, man. This is exactly what we thought it would be, dude. From Silent Wolf on, it just rips. I really liked Denial, the little gang vocal bits that they did on that. Undertow reminded me a lot of that collaboration that The Chariot did with Hayley Williams back in 2007. Harm's Way reminds me a lot of The Chariot in general, though. Like, not in a derivative way or anything, just in the way they combine hardcore and metal with this palpable raw aggression that you just can't teach. Even though we knew what this one would be, it still somehow managed to live up and deliver. I'm also giving it a 7.5. My standout is Denial, man. They killed it on this one.
Yeah, they most definitely did.
All right, that does it for us this week. Join us next week when we will be breaking down new albums from Bad Bunny, Beartooth, Boy Genius, Crosses, Metric, Troye Sivan, and much more. If you liked the show, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. You can find us on Instagram and Reddit. Just search Brandon's Face Pod, and make sure you follow the playlist that this podcast is based on. You can find the link to that in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.